Hello, I'm Tara Scubella, guide and founder of Earth Tantra, a practice of presence and relationship with self, nature, others, and spirit. And today we are going to explore burnout, which honestly I might get a lot of flack for this, but I don't even think that exists. And so let's have some fun investigation of the topic that many people experience in life called burnout. So I don't even think that burnout exists. And as I say this, you might be thinking, oh, you've never experienced burnout. But I have, so much so, especially I'll say in my previous lifetime and career. I used to work in the social services field, which is a very high rate of burnout. And in my present way of thinking and perceptions, I look back at that time in my life of burnout, and honestly, I don't even think that exists because, from my perception, burnout is actually a disconnection to relationship. And in Earth Tantra, we practice and move into that deep space of presence, again, with self, nature, others, and spirit. And so when our life is out of balance, when we are completely putting all of our energy and devotion into one area, maybe that's a job, right? Because we oftentimes think of burnout associated with a job or a career, but it could also be a relationship with a romantic partner, or maybe even family or other situations, maybe even a natural disaster. But when our energy and our attunement is focused so much on one thing, that disconnect from our intimate relationship with the other things that keep us whole depletes. And at that point, we forget how important those relationships are in keeping our life balanced. And so let's kind of break this down. So relationship with self, that is maybe the stillness, the silence, letting ourselves think and process information when we're in that full engaging of energy and focus in one direction. We oftentimes let those times and periods slip from us to where we can process information, where we can just be, right? Whether that's a bath or that place of stillness. It doesn't need to be exactly like meditation or yoga. It could be another form of that relationship, self-care. Again, we're talking about solo. So not even self-care or self-support in a group environment. Time as an individual. And maybe as you're listening to this, you're like, I have no time to myself. So you may kind of want to reframe your relationship with yourself after this video. The second thing with nature. Nature really fills a lot of people's cups. And so this is a more external relationship with our environment. Maybe that's the earth directly. Maybe you're more of a water person. Maybe you love to hike. Or maybe your deep connection and time in nature is sitting next to a tree in Central Park. It doesn't matter where. That time to just be with nature. And if you've been following Earth Tantra for many years, and I'll also include this link below, simply just touching, physically touching skin to skin with nature really brings our cortisol levels down. It restores us, resets us, centers our energy with that 7.83 hertz, the Schumann resonance, the pulse of the earth. So our relationship with nature, including the five senses, that heightened awareness, and that joy that nature brings with her sounds, her smells, all of the above. All right, so now let's move into relationship with others. And so this could be your friends, your community, right? So now we're looking more externally with maybe other humans. This could also be relationship to pets, maybe your beloved or a romantic relationship, or your relationship with your nucleus of a family, your children, those who live in your household, building relationship with your intimate sacred circle. And again, when our energy is directed and focused, so much so that sometimes those relationships are put off to the side. Maybe they're on pause, and sometimes when we're so engulfed in that production, that pause maybe can be elongated. And then that's when we realize, something needs to change. And then the fourth is relationship with spirit. And this is so personal and different for each of us. This could be maybe a faith-based community or practice. Maybe it is meditation. Maybe it is connecting with your ancestors, your lineage and line. Maybe it's also just your time in nature, and that is your spirit. That is your source. That is a space of sacredness for you. And so looking at burnout, reframing the term burnout, right? Because even just hearing that, it's like, it's really yucky. Reframing that into restoring relationship, I think is a very important perspective to take, especially when we live in a modern day society where production is so highly valued, but beyond the point where it is also beyond our capability and really puts that wrench in the gear to off balance our relationship with the other spaces that fill our cup, that enriches our lives and brings joy. And Earth Tantra, that is our focus, building intimacy and building that presence and deep connection with our relationship with these four factors: self, nature, others, and spirit. Realigning conscious connection, being in that presence with ourselves, with each other, that art of slowing down, connecting very authentically and raw and real is the space in our life that creates balance. And so I invite you today to do 4 or maybe 3 micro moments of building your relationship. So with self, maybe that's a bath, maybe that's a pause for 3 minutes, feeling into the way that you're breathing. Maybe it's a short craft, whatever it is, with the space where you are just with yourself. And then 3 minutes in nature. And again, this could be in a park. You could just take off your shoes, stand outside for 3 minutes, listen to the noises, even if they're human-made noises, that's okay. But listening to your environment, the realness of the environment that surrounds you. Taking 3 minutes. And maybe those 3 minutes, if you don't live in a household or you don't have access to your community today, maybe that's 3 smiles to 3 strangers today. Eye contact and a smile can completely shift not only somebody else's day, but also yourself. Even if they don't smile back at you, right? We don't need that reflection of what we did was positive, but knowing in your heart space that what you did was a connection with somebody else. Maybe it's a coworker, again, somebody passing in the hallway, or a stranger at the gas station or park or grocery store. And then 3 minutes, perhaps, of something that is spiritual to you. Again, that can be in nature. It could be a prayer. It could be reading some quotes. It could be any sacredness that is meaningful to you in your life. And so I invite your life to become a practice with little microdoses of connection between these 4 entities of self, nature, others, and spirit. All right, I hope that maybe this has kind of shifted your terminology around burnout, like such a negative term, to relationship restoration, relationship rebuilding, your balance of your relationship. All right, thank you for spending this time together. Don't forget to click subscribe and follow us here on YouTube.